All right. Welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. This is Matt, and I am talking to Sarah Williams. Sarah,
Hello.
how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, Sarah and I have talked before, and if you're interested in, if there's some things you have questions about, there is a previous interview, and Sarah's done several interviews with other people as well, and you can find some more information about her and what she does there. If we don't answer all your questions today, and she's affiliated with a website, so tell us. Let's just start there. Um, kind of tell us some places where somebody can find you.
So there's a few different ways. Um, the main way that and like how we originally started talking was through Debarim Publishing, which is the publishing company that I started prior to Kehilla. So Debarim Publishing is a Torah Observant publishing company, and what I do is I help authors, whether it's their first time or their fifth time, it doesn't matter. But I work with authors to publish the words that the Father has given them. And so I'll take your manuscript and I'll work with you all the way through to finished product and distribution. And then eventually, if you want to do marketing and everything else as well, we go through that route too. But really just trying to help people have a polished piece of work. I don't want to change the words that the Father has given people. I just want to help them make it look professional. And so that's my goal with Debarim Publishing. And that's, kind of how you and I started talking when I started
Yeah,
working with you through Debarim Publishing for your book.
yeah, yeah. And so it is there, and so let's kind of start with the publishing piece, and go ahead and tell us. You've got this website, and we'll come back to it. We're going to give you more details, but just kind of the why we're here today is we want to talk about this new website that Sarah has, and just say a few things about that, and then we'll kind of talk about your background and how you ended up here.
Alrighty. So Kehilla is a Torah observant marketplace, and it's basically kind of in a version of like Etsy or Fiverr, but for Torah observant individuals. So what it does is it allows people who are obviously with a background of Torah observancy to place items in stores. Now, it could be things that you make, like things you create, like books or crocheting or paintings or anything like that. It could be on the crafty side or it could be on the professional services side. So if you are an accountant or you do marketing or videography or anything like that, it's basically this place to be like a hub for people to be able to support other believers and help other families that are following the Father's way to support the work that they do and to support their families, and just creating a place where we can find other believers that are doing amazing things.
Yeah, that sounds great. We definitely want to help you with that and support that cause. And so so we'll go back to the beginning and tell us a little bit about your background. So you've gone from publishing, and now you're entering website e-commerce
Yeah.
for the Torah community. And tell us a little bit about your publishing background, how you got started, and kind of what happened. How do you go from publishing, working in the publishing world, to starting your own publishing company?
So originally it started, and the Father's really cool because he has a plan with everything. I wrote my first book when 2020 was happening, and and so I wrote my first book, and it's called People in the Pews: Modern Stories of God's Loving Grace. And it was actually as my husband and I were coming to Torah. We were in the Pentecostal church at the time and started, being pulled to follow the whole Bible. And I wrote this book with, I do have a degree in journalism, and so it kind of works with writing. I love it. I wrote the book, and unfortunately, I used a Christian publishing company to publish the book, and they stopped paying me 2 months after I had the book published, and I've never seen a penny from that book in 4 years. And I was really, really mad, to be honest. At first, I was very angry, not with the Father, but with the company, because while I was still fine, I didn't think I was the only one that this was happening to, and I didn't have the means to fix this. It just kind of was what it was. No matter what emails I sent or anything, it never got fixed. And so the book is still for sale from them on Amazon, actually, to this day. And when in 2022, I actually got the words from the Father, basically, for my second book, that this was going to be a children's book. And by this point, my husband and I were following Torah, and it's actually a children's book called I Saw the Earth Wake Up, and it is helping to teach children the basic principles of the Torah, but through a homesteading setting. And I didn't want to relive what I went through previously with having my book basically stolen from me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself this time. I already know the publishing process. I've been through it before. I know the steps. I'm just going to do it myself. And so I found an artist who was also Torah observant. I found a friend of mine actually is really good with design and layout. So I asked her to help me with the layout of the book. And together, we all worked together to create the book. And after that process, I was like, you know what? I was like, I bet there's a lot of people out there who don't know where to start, are a little nervous about going to a gigantic company, or who are like me, who are Torah observant, and most like even Christian publishing companies aren't going to accept their books. And so I started doing a lot of research. I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a space that is safe, that is biblically rooted, for people to be able to share the words the Father gives them. And also not doing what a lot of big publishing houses do and making people change their stories or add things that they don't feel comfortable adding just to sell a book. And so really just trying to keep it basic principles of just being good people in all honesty. And that's how I started the publishing company. I did not have plans to start it necessarily as quickly as I did, because I published my children's book. And shortly after publishing that, a friend of mine told somebody else, they're like, hey, by the way, she's starting a publishing company, because that other friend had started writing a book. And so it just kind of started cartwheeling from there of, this person has a book. Okay, I'm going to help you, and like get my feet wet and like figuring out how it is to help somebody else outside of myself. And it's just been going from there and there. And then that's how you and I met, and just kind of going forward. And now book number 6 is almost done. Book number 7 is already in the works. And book number 8 is like getting ready to be contracted. So in 2 years now, we've, through the Father, Debarim Publishing has been able to work with 8 authors on their books, and going from the manuscript to completed product. And it's been really humbling for me, because I definitely don't take it for granted that like yourself, Matt, have trusted me with the words the Father's given you and your story. It's a huge honor to me that you would that someone would trust me with that. But I also want to make sure that I'm doing right by the Father in the sense of honoring his words and what he has given to people, and just trying to make sure that these books are shared with as many people as possible. That's kind of how the idea for Kehilla got started, because I can do graphic design for the most part. I am not an artist though. Like I cannot paint, I cannot do really beautiful drawings or anything like that. And for my children's book, I needed somebody who could do that. And so an artist was, thankfully I knew an artist who could help me. So I started gathering artists, Torah observant artists who had varying backgrounds in art, like their styles were very different, so that I could help serve the authors who were potentially going to need artists. That way I could connect them. So it started with that. And then I started kind of collecting people who also did editing as well too, because while I do editing, it could help to have other people that do editing as well too. And so I started within Debarim Publishing, starting to create this network of individuals who could work on books. But as I started doing that, I started realizing that there was way more, website designers, videographers that could do like book trailers, and all these things kind of started opening my eyes to the fact that there's so much more out there. And I had originally wanted to create within Debarim Publishing a marketplace kind of like this for publishing purposes. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, that wouldn't be right, because there's so many other talented people out there. Like I want to be able to help more people and bring this community together. And so that's eventually kind of how I kept working towards Kehilla and how Kehilla came to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I can testify that you definitely helped me, and with when I wrote "Becoming Jacob," and that was that was very beneficial to me. It's words the Father had given me years ago, and you helped me make it happen. And it's been a blessing to me, to my family, and to everyone that knows me. And I pray that it's a blessing to the kingdom. And I just really appreciate you helping me make it happen. It was a dream that you helped, and you answered a prayer and helped make that happen. And so, if someone else out there has an idea, what should they do? What how do they begin this process with you?
So they can reach out to me through my Debarim Publishing website. I have a contact me page that they can reach me on, and or they can email me as well too. I am also on Instagram, and so any of those ways you can reach out to me. I check my email regularly and stuff like that. Um, but what I usually do is like a basically a free consultation. Like you call me and say, hey, I'm interested, or you email me and we set up a call where you kind of tell me what you're looking for. And then we go through the steps of like, okay, so this is what you're wanting to do. Some authors haven't needed the full process because they've already done a good portion of it already. They just kind of need the final few steps or whatever that they're unsure of how to do. And so there is the full publishing packages that I offer, but then there's also like the a la carte versions of like, I just want editing. That's it. I don't need you to do anything else, but I really need somebody to look through this and like go through it with a fine tooth comb. Okay, that's great. I'll do editing. But we kind of discuss what the needs are for the individual based off the book or books that they're working on. And then from there, create a plan and go forward from there and then start working with scheduling and timing things out and everything else.
Yeah. So it sounds like you still need authors, you need artists, and you're open to, um, anything Torah related. Are you looking for something specific right now, or just kind of whatever is on someone's heart?
So the different books that like I'm working with right now, one is an apologetics style book, and the other is completely fiction. So it is whatever somebody is working on. I don't have. It doesn't even necessarily have to be like Torah specific. So like the first book I ever published was called Homestead Hints. It was completely about homesteading. It had nothing to do with Torah. It was just helping to teach people how to start that process. And if they're looking for land and having all these great tips for people who potentially have never even started a homestead before. So that book was not Torah related at all, but the author was Torah observant. And so even if you are Torah observant and you don't necessarily have a specific book that teaches Torah, that's totally fine. I'm not doing a cult. I'm not doing, stuff that goes against the Bible or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't have to be a book that teaches Torah. It can just be a book that you've written because the Father can give you words in multiple different ways.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, um, yeah, it's just, as you were talking about, Sister Kate Fox. Let's see,
Yep.
Homestead Hints. And that's good. So, so that you're, because I think in the publishing world, sometimes they get bent and or they look for certain things at certain times, and they're real trendy. And if they perceive there's some trend out there, that's what they're looking for, and they're trying to crank that out, kind of thing. And so that sometimes if you have an idea that's outside of what they think is cool, then it becomes
Yeah.
very difficult for you to get published.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I look at it as if the Father is giving you words to share, then you need to share them. Um, and I just want to be able to help people in that process. Like I know how difficult it can be. Have book one and two of my own written, and I'm working on book three, and it's taking a while.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like I get it from the author side, and I also understand from the publishing side what goes into it. And so I just want to be able to be there to help people and share the Father's word.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, especially with writing, good writing takes time, and you have to be willing to deconstruct it and tear it all apart and put it back together again.
Yep.
And that's the hard part. But the more you do that, I think the better it becomes. Um, so if you've got some words out there, for me personally, it was beneficial for me to have maybe some other people who are going to give you a real opinion. Not sometimes you need a cheerleader,
Yeah.
and but sometimes you need somebody that's like, I don't know about this or this, and you need that opinion, and that'll help you make it better. So don't be afraid of that. If you've got something that you're working on, don't be afraid to ask someone that's going to give you a real opinion. In fact, I highly recommend that. Don't because you can ask people that are just going to give you fluff answers and go, yeah, this is great, but they said that about anything. You
Yeah.
need a critical eye sometimes to help you get it better.
Yeah. And like when I'm editing and things like that, like I will give the authors reasons as to why I think something should be changed. And even then, it's not necessarily like, oh, if you don't accept this change that I think you should do, I'm not going to publish you. That's not the way it works. Um, I will give you my suggestions. And usually with the suggestions, I'm like, I highly suggest you take these suggestions. But then at the same time, if you're like, no, it completely defeats the purpose of my book, then that's fine too. Like, I will not be offended by that at all.
Yeah,
We'll just
yeah,
keep working forward.
yeah, and that shows a lot of maturity on your end too, and we appreciate that. And as a author, you feel like you have a lot of control over it, and you're not being managed by some corporate deal.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that, and I think that's harder and harder to find it in the world we live in today. So many people, mom and pops and different things, sell out to the corporate man,
Yeah.
and everything changes when you do
Yeah.
that for sure. So that's awesome. You talked about Debarim Publishing and how somebody could get involved, and we've got our contact information there on the screen. And so and you kind of touched on it a little bit. You talked about how you started, and I remember when you did this, you started asking for people to say, "Hey, I'm an artist. I can do that. I can help you edit." And so you started putting these people together. And so, how do you go from putting that together to creating this e-commerce platform that you've created?
So that took a lot of time actually. It was the idea for Kehilla came to me probably within 6 months of owning Debarim Publishing. Um, but it wasn't something that I was really willing to pursue yet because I didn't want to draw myself too thin because I am a mom. I do have a full time job outside of all this and everything else. And I'm a very big proponent on still being there for my children and being active in their lives. And we homeschool and everything else. And so I didn't want to do something that could distract from the work that I was already doing that I knew the Father was calling me to do, or distract from my family, which is my ultimate calling. And so I prayed on it for a while because of those reasons. And I kind of basically got like really heavily placed on my heart after about, I don't know, 4 months or so of praying about it, that, hey, like by this time, this needs to be done. Whatever you're doing, it needs to be done by this time. And so I was like, oh my goodness, okay. And I had already been talking to a friend of mine who is a tech guy. Like I didn't, I can make pretty pictures and like the verbiage on the website and everything, but all the behind the scenes, making it work, the coding, all that stuff was not me. Again, it was one of those situations where I found a Torah observant friend who was very good at something that I am not good at. And he, praise the Father, was willing to work with me on it and help me get Kehilla launched. And so I basically told him, hey, I have this time period that the Father's given me that I have to get this project done. Do you think you can help me do it? And so there was a lot of back and forth discussion and okay, Sarah, like, what do you want it to look like? How do you want it to feel? Like, and I really kind of wanted to go kind of back to the roots of things and have that old, you're walking through Israel feel of the shops and everything else. So that's why it has kind of more of that older, ancient Middle East kind of look to it, because I kind of just wanted to create that original feel of community. And so that's where it came from. That's also why I had the Paleo Hebrew on the website, because it's just, again, kind of like a nod to our ancestors, basically. Um, and so him and I worked on it, and he discussed with me the look that I wanted for the site, and even the style of like, what do the stores look like? What can the people offer in their stores, or what can they offer in their listings and everything else? And so there was a lot of research on my end as to what can Kehilla do, and then a lot of work on his end of how do I make what Sarah wants done work. So it was about six to 7 months of collaboration between him and I to get this formed into what it is now. And even then, him and I are already talking about ways to make it better in the coming months. So it's still a continual thing, but right now we're making sure it works right now, which
Yeah.
it is. It's working well. People have sold items. I'm very excited about that. So there's been commerce happening and people sharing about it. So that's been exciting to see. But it's making sure everything's flowing smoothly and then making it even better.
Yeah, that's great. So, tell us a little bit about Kehilla and what it means. I see the paleo behind the logo there, and kind of what does the name mean, and how does that connect to what you're doing?
So Kehilla is Hebrew for community, congregation, or assembly. And the term Kehilla itself in Hebrew was only used a couple times in the Bible. I do believe one of them was in Deuteronomy. It's on the website. I don't have it memorized though. But Kehilla literally means community. And that's what I'm hoping to help foster here, because there's so many Torah observant, Messianic, Hebrew roots, whole Bible, whatever you want to call yourself. There's so many people though who are following the Father's way, who are incredibly talented individuals, or like artistically or professionally or whatever. And to be able to bring these people together in kind of like one place so that we can support each other is the goal of the website. It's the mission, is to be able to foster the community of those following the Father's way, but supporting each other. And one of the goals I have with Kehilla in the future is actually creating that community like atmosphere through Instagram, and doing kind of like what we're doing, interviews with some of the store owners and things like that, and having people get to know them. And so being able to learn about the people who are making these items, who are sharing these things. And as you can see here, like there's artistic things, there's books, but there's also like a doctor on there doing like functional lab screenings, and there's classes about bread, and there's so many different things that people can offer on here. And this is just the beginning, and I was so happy to see who has already started offering things. um, but creating that community and bringing people together to support each other is the ultimate goal of this.
Yeah, that's great. And here recently, I've seen all kinds of people. Like I've seen some of these people in other places doing their own thing, and I see a lot of people making T-shirts. Especially Sukkot right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people doing that, and yeah. So uh, I do think there's a need for this kind of thing, and I looked on your website. I saw there were recipes, and there's everything from products that coffee mugs to T-shirts to ointments to oils to the food stuff, and I'm sure there's no limit to what you can do with this. And so if somebody has something let's start with, so that when it comes to purchasing, does it take all kinds of different payment methods? Can you pay like all kinds of different ways, or?
So we use Stripe, so debit, credit cards, things like that. Eventually, we're going to work on creating our own system for being able to take take funds, get payments,
Mhm.
things like that. That's not necessarily dictated by Stripe. That's again my tech guy. It's way over my head. way over my head, but he has the capabilities to do that kind of stuff. So I'm like, that's cool. I like that idea. But you could log in or sign up. There's the sign up button, and you can sign up to be a provider, or you can sign up to be a customer. And if you do sign up to be a provider, your provider account is also your customer account. So if, like, I have, as Debarim Publishing, a store, I can also buy from other people as Debarim Publishing. So if you're a provider, you do not need to create a second account to be a customer as well too. But if you want to just strictly be a customer, then you select the customer option, and then you'll just be buying from people. So you just sign up and create an account. It's just like Etsy, eBay, places like that, where you're creating your account so you can purchase things. And you'll create your account and have your card information and everything like that. It's all secure. I'm not looking at anybody's numbers or anything like that. We don't sell information. I've actually like made sure that's clicked so that we're not selling information. Um, and so you'll be able to create your account and then just start buying from people. Or if you want to create a listing, you sign up as a provider, and then you have the create a listing button at the top. We do also have like how Kehilla works, which is videos or I'm sorry, not the videos. It's like the different categories. So we have our makers and artists. We have our professional services. We even have farm to table. And farm to table is a little bit different in the sense that, like, you can choose pick up in person.
Like it
And
could be
so
local. Yeah.
yeah, so like if you wanted to sell something in your local area, like some of these like sweets and stuff like that that this person has for their shop, they have as pickup or shipping. Some of it can be shipped, some of it can't be shipped. So the stuff that
Mm-hmm.
can't be shipped, they have pickup only. But now this shop, the store owner, has a way to have a website and have people be able to purchase things without necessarily having to set up their own website. And so you have that option of like bakery, you have learning. So if you own a homestead or you want to do these online classes, you can do that as well. Produce, meat, things like that. That's kind of the farm to table side of things. And again, a lot
Yeah,
of
there's
that kind of stuff would
definitely
be pick up a person.
definitely openings there in the meat and bakery category. If you have something like that, you could put on there, and then you've got a link for ministry. Looks like.
Yep. Yeah. So ministry, t-shirts, things like that, ways to support ministries. Eventually what this is going to be, and like I said, there's kind of like steps to the process that we're working on. Eventually ministry will be also a ministry finder, but it's not going to be like 119 where it's like find people or something like that. It's literally going to just be specific like congregations. We meet at this place at this time, and you can go there to fellowship. So there will be like the ministry side of things to be able to find ministries as well, especially if you're like moving to a new area and you want to search within your zip code. I know 119 has that as well too, but it's just something that I felt should be a part of this website as well. And then same with farm to table. Farms will eventually be able to select their location. Right now, we don't have that option because we're still figuring. Crazy out for my tech guy. He's figuring out the coding to get that done.
Mm.
Again, work with fantastic people. But you'll be able to have like your location for your farm, and then people will be able to buy from you locally. So
Yeah, that's awesome because there are some things. Yes, you can ship um, meat all over the place, and people do it with dry ice and things like that. But
mhm.
sometimes the shipping cost and the handling, if you
Yeah,
think about having to put that in a box and get the dry ice, and I mean, it's a process.
yeah,
And then there is a chance that something weird could happen on that journey to you. But yeah, if you could pick it up locally, that would be good. And then especially like with even with meat, you can probably even find a local butcher shop that would, if you had some meat you wanted to share like that, you could probably even partner with somebody like that, and they could
hmm
pre-package it into whatever cuts you wanted, and they could. I'm sure you could arrange all that and make that easy. So,
yeah,
or butcher it yourself. So, but then you do. There may be food rules and things depending on your state and what they
yeah.
require, but
Yeah, that's kind of part of our like with our terms and conditions is that you have to follow the guidelines for your specific state. I can't manage every single state and what they do. Like you're supposed to be aware of that kind of information
Yeah.
when you're selling
Yeah.
stuff. So even with like taxes and everything like that, people are aware of if they, for their specific state, what kind of taxes or whatever they would
Yeah.
need to
And
deal
then
with.
you have professional services like you talked about, those lab screenings and marketing and graphics and video. So there's a lot of, and of course writing, and
Hmm.
Debarim can help you with that. And so there's quite a few things, and the list is growing.
Yep. Yeah, we have new sellers sign up every few days, which is really cool because we're just starting out, grassroots kind of effort thing. And so it's fun to see the new people signing in, starting to create listings and everything else. And it's beautiful to watch the community grow.
Well, and I think there is, you're right. Beautiful is a good way to put it, because we are living in a day and time which, a couple of things. Look at the rise of Azure Standard and the stuff that they do. I don't know if you're familiar with if you're familiar with them.
Yeah, we purchase from them frequently.
Yeah, yeah. So, they're Torah people. There may even be a connection with them. You could help foster, and but but there's just so many people that are wanting to connect with other like-minded people, because we feel like one day that things could be cut off from other places, and it's good to have backup and good to know. And not even, I don't want to be fear and doom about that, but even you just want to help support. You'd rather your money go to some hardworking farm family or
Hmm.
hardworking individual than some weird corporate thing that going to take your money and do weird things with it.
Yeah, yeah. This is
So
with it. It's again like it's all just like with Debarim Publishing. Kehilla is it's based on the Bible. And what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about interacting with our brothers and sisters? What does the Bible say about commerce with our brothers and sisters and things like that? And so we really work on that and trying to make sure that we're still incorporating all that. And we do have the seller's corner, and anybody can see this, like the seller's corner. So if you're curious about what it is involved in selling or you have questions about it, you can watch it. But this is also like kind of how to or tutorials for sellers. Some of the things that I wanted to discuss in this one was like whole Bible believing. Like, what does that mean to us as a company? So that video, they're all usually less than 3 minutes, but that video
yeah,
goes into that. Observing the Sabbath on Kehilla. Eventually, the what we'll have with Kehilla is the ability for each store to choose whenever their Sabbath is, because we obviously have different time zones and things like that. So stores will eventually be able to shut down their store for the Sabbath so that buyers cannot purchase from them on the Sabbath. Right now, unfortunately, we don't have that yet. It's just one of those things of like, don't check your emails, don't don't put up a
yeah,
new listing on the Sabbath, honor system. And the same thing will happen actually with the customers as well too. When a customer signs up to buy from Kehilla, eventually they themselves will also have to choose a Sabbath, whether
hmm,
they are Torah observant or not, because you don't have to be Torah observant to purchase from the site, but you do have to be Torah observant to sell on the site. So eventually customers will also have to choose a Sabbath, which I was like, hey, like when my tech guy, my husband actually came up with that idea, like at the same time, I was like, well, that's a fun way too of like nudging that fourth commandment in there
yeah, yeah. That's good.
on people if they're not Torah observant, make them think like, hey, what the heck are they doing? Why are they having us do this? And so that's just talking about observing the Sabbath on Kehilla currently and our future goals. And then, of course, there's like creating a listing, creating a custom listing, and we'll have more videos coming out on that page as we go, as we get questions from providers and needing help with things. So we'll make more videos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So you have these how-to videos. If you have questions, that's a place you can go um, to get more information about that. And then you have this about us. You've got the information. It's
Deb,
um,
Debarim
yeah,
33:4.
yeah. So that's the scripture you're probably looking for earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got another video there that talks about it. And
Mm-hmm.
they have a YouTube channel and an Instagram. So if you're not
Yep.
following on those things, she would appreciate it if you'd follow it. And also, if this interview that we've done here today, if you know somebody that'd be interested, we just ask that you would point them to this and share this information with them and get them involved, and there's strength in the community, and we'd appreciate you at least going to look at the website and poke around and see what kinds of things are offered there, and you might find something that you need, and or you might come up with you might see a hole in the marketplace, and you may be able to fill that hole. So encourage you to go check it out. All right. So Sarah, let's see. I couldn't see you there. There you are. Well, I appreciate you taking time today to tell us about your website, Kehilla, and we look forward to seeing what happens with it, and see what happens with Debarim Publishing. It's so exciting that you're going up to soon to be eight books, and that's great. And so, anything else you want to say or share with someone that we maybe forgot to say?
I just wanted to thank you for your time and for sharing this. And like you said, you don't necessarily have to be a provider if you want to be a customer or share it with your friends. This is how we build the community, is sharing with others and helping bring other people, bring awareness to other things that people are doing. So I just want to thank everybody who watches this video, who shares it with people, who sign up. Everything like that is just helping to build the Father's kingdom.
Amen. And I think that it makes sense that our Creator would put a spark of creativity in us, and I think everybody's got it. And some people suppress it, and some people pretend that they don't, or they try to downplay it. And if that's you, stop, because you may have something that you really need to do out there, and don't downplay it and go, I can't do that, I can't do that.
Oh,
Yes, you
yeah.
can, and you should try. And our Father, we put this creativity in us, and some of us, if we're not creating, we're not happy. And so I think that that if that's you, then you probably ought to consider putting something on this website, and get it out there for more people to see. So and I think there's something about the Torah community for us to be, if you when you read through the Torah, you don't see a lot of examples of people that worked for other people. They most of them were entrepreneurs, or
Yep.
did their own thing. And so I think that there's something of great value to that. And when you do that, and when you live that kind of with that kind of mindset, I think you're more free to observe the commandments, and do the things he asks you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You can shut down your store whenever you want. It's kind of a nice thing to be able to do that when you're observing high holy days, or honestly just wanting to spend time with family or the Father. And it's a blessing to be able to do those kind of things.
Yeah, and that's the beauty. We don't all celebrate. Sarah and I were having that conversation before. We don't all celebrate the same calendar days, and just today I saw some people talking about that on probably Instagram or something, and they were talking about how they're not going to fight about it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to fight people over that. And and with this, you don't have to worry about it. You can set your dates of as on the customer side or on the vendor side, to what dates you're observing, and you can shut it all down as needed. So
Hmm.
I think that's a great feature.
Thank you.
Well, Sarah, I really appreciate your time today, and it was fun learning about this, and I look forward to seeing kind of where it goes, and what happens, and I hope that, especially those of you that listen to this, that you share this with other people, and you help get the word out about this, and maybe participate.
Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate you having me
So,
on.
all right. Well, Sarah, if you'll stay on the line, we'll kind of wrap up our conversation here. But for the rest of you, we appreciate you tuning in to Sabbath Lounge. And next time, probably I'll have Jake with me. And it's always better when Jake's with me. But anyway, we'll catch you next time. And thank you, Sarah, for being with us today.